Every day we have opportunities to get upset, to be frustrated, to go around offended. Maybe our plans didn't work out, or somebody was rude to us at the office, or what should have taken an hour ended up taking 3 hours. Life is full of inconveniences. There will always be interruptions, people that are hard to get along with. And we can't control all of our circumstances, but we can control our reaction. Now, I heard somebody say, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond. And we should go out each day positive, hopeful, expecting God's favor. But at the same time, we should be realistic, knowing that most days are not going to go exactly as we had it planned. And if you get stressed because you got off schedule, or upset because your child wouldn't eat his breakfast, frustrated because somebody offended you, what you're doing is giving away your power. We were created to be in peace. And when you have this calmness on the inside, a joy in your spirit, a smile on your face, that's a position of power. That's when you're at your very best. But too many people these days have the wrong approach to life. They think they can't be happy unless they control all their circumstances, make sure everything goes their way. But that's not realistic. We have to come to the place where we can say, I don't have to have my way in order to have a good day. My plans don't have to work out for me to be happy. Everybody doesn't have to treat me right for me to enjoy my life. I have already made up my mind. No matter what does or doesn't happen, I'm going to stay in peace and enjoy this day. And it helped me when I realized that no person can take my joy. No circumstance can take our peace. No interruption can take our enthusiasm. We have to give it away. And the next time you're tempted to get upset, frustrated, ask yourself, is this worth giving my power away? This man that's rude to me on the phone that I don't even know, is it worth giving him my joy? Or this coworker that left me out of a meeting, is it worth giving away my peace? And some of you today, you don't have the victory that you should, not because you can't, but because you keep giving it away. And life is too short to live upset and offended. If you allow your circumstances to control your joy, then there's always going to be some reason to be discouraged. Well, Joel, it's the economy. It's the stock market. That's why I'm so down. No, quit giving away your power. God is still on the throne. The economy in heaven is doing just fine. As long as you're connected to Him, everything's going to be all right. Well, I had to cancel my vacation this year. Or my boss is sure hard to get along with. Or this neighbor, he really gets on my nerves. I've been praying, asking God to change him. But one thing I've learned is never pray for God to change somebody else without first saying, God, change me. Even if that neighbor were to move away, if you don't learn this principle, to not allow other people to steal your joy, 2 more people just like him will move back in. We have to change. Jesus put it this way, John 14:27, stop allowing yourself to be upset and disturbed. Notice it's a choice that we have to make. He didn't say, I'm going to make sure your circumstances are perfect. That way you can be happy. He said, in effect, the things that are upsetting you right now, they don't have to. The people that are aggravating you, even if they don't change, they don't have to. If you'll make adjustments and change your approach to life, you can be happy in spite of those circumstances. Now, I'm asking you today to stop allowing people and traffic and disappointments and inconveniences to steal your joy. You have to put your foot down and say, this child that gets on my nerves, I love him, but I'm going to rise above it. I'm not going to let this control me. Or this grumpy boss that jumps down my throat for no reason, I'm not letting him ruin any more of my days. That's what it means to not give away your power. You've got to be determined that you're going to enjoy your life. I heard this lady tell how one of her husband's relatives was very opinionated. He was always making these cutting, demeaning remarks toward her. And this couple hadn't been married that long, and every time they were at family get-togethers, Invariably, he would say something that offended her. She would get all upset and it ruined the whole trip. She got to where she didn't want to even go on these family events. Finally, she told her husband, "You got to do something about that man. He's your relative." She was expecting the husband to say, "You're right, honey. He shouldn't talk to you like that. I'm going to go in there and set him straight." But the husband did just the opposite. He said, "Honey, I love you, but I cannot control him. He has every right to have his opinion. He can say what he wants to, but you have every right to not get offended." At first, she couldn't understand why her husband wouldn't really stick up for her. Time and time again, she would get upset, and if he was in one room, she would go to another room. If that man was outside, she would make sure she stayed inside. Her whole focus was centered on avoiding this man. One day, it was like a light turned on. She realized she was giving away her power. She was allowing one person that had issues of his own to keep her from becoming who she was meant to be. When you allow what someone says or does to upset you, you're allowing them to control you. When you say, "You make me so mad," what you're really doing is admitting that you're giving away your power. As long as that person knows they can push this button and you'll respond this way, and they can make this remark and you'll get upset, and they know if they go outside, you'll go inside, as long as you keep responding the same way, you are giving them exactly what they want. People have a right to say what they want, to do what they want, as long as it's legal, but we have a right to not get offended. We have a right to overlook it. But when we get upset and go around angry, we change, somebody walks in a room, we get all tense. What's happening is we're putting too much importance on what they think about us. What they say about you does not define who you are. Their opinion of you does not determine your self-worth. Let that bounce off of you like water off of a duck's back. They have every right to have their opinion, and you have every right to ignore it. And I found that some people, they feel like it's their calling in life to point out what we're doing wrong and where we're missing it. They're constantly critical, always finding fault. There's nothing they'd love any more than to keep you upset and arguing and always trying to prove why you're okay. You have got to rise above that. You don't need them to agree with you. You don't have to have their approval. Let that go and just be who God made you to be. One time, even with Moses, his relatives didn't like who he chose to marry. They didn't like the fact that they weren't from the same nationality. And they criticized Moses. They even did it publicly. They said, "We don't agree with this. We don't give him our approval." But down deep, Moses knew he was making the right decision. He didn't argue with them. He didn't get upset. He didn't criticize them back. He just kept his peace. Long story short, the person that was giving him the most trouble, his most vocal critic, they came down with leprosy. Couldn't even stay around. What am I saying? You don't have to respond to every critic and try to prove to people who you are. Just stay on the high road and let God fight your battles for you. Now, I've learned some people that come across our path don't want to be at peace with us. No matter what we say or do, it's not going to convince them to agree or like or even accept us. Even if you were to change who you are, even if you were to meet all their demands, they would still find some reason to be critical. You have to accept the fact that no matter what you do, some people are never going to be at peace with you. When Jesus sent his disciples out, when they went into certain homes, he told them to speak peace over that home. And he said, in effect, if they don't receive it, then the peace that you're offering them will come back to you. That tells me if you will do your best to be at peace with people, even if they won't take your peace, the good news is then that peace will just come back to you. You'll not only get your peace, but you'll get that other share as well. When you do the right thing when the wrong thing's happening, God sees it and he rewards it. I heard this man tell how he was walking down the street with his friend, and they were going to buy a newspaper. They came to the little store on the corner, and the clerk inside was very rude, very inconsiderate. The man bought his paper and When he got finished, he smiled real big and just said as friendly as can be, "I hope you have a great day today." As they were leaving, his friend said, "Is that clerk always that rude?" The man said, "Every single day." He said, "Well, are you always that nice?" He said, "Every single day." His friend was kind of puzzled. He said, "Why?" The man said, "I've made up my mind. I'm not going to let one person ruin my day." What he was saying was, I'm not going to give him my power. He has every right to be obnoxious, rude, inconsiderate, but I have every right to be happy, kind, and friendly. When you encounter people that have that poison on the inside, it's so important that you don't let that poison rub off on you. If you sink down to their level and you're cold and rude back to them, what's happened is you've let them contaminate you. You've got to rise above that. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. You overcome evil with good. If somebody's rude to you, just bless them, smile, and keep moving forward. Jesus put it this way, "Blessed are the meek. They will inherit the kingdom of God." When we hear that word meek, many times we think of weak, shy, reserved, just like a little fearful person. We can't stand up for ourselves. We let everybody run over us. That's not meek at all. Meekness is not weakness. It's strength under control. Meekness is like a wild horse that's been tamed. He's just as strong, just as powerful, has just as much speed as before he was tamed. The only difference is now that strength is under control. You can walk up to him, pet him, lead the horse around, probably get on him and ride him, but don't be fooled. He has the same power, the same tenacity. Now he's just learned how to control it. And when you're a meek person, you don't go around trying to straighten everybody out. You don't respond to every critic. People may be talking about you, but you don't let it bother you. You may have the power to do something about it, but you realize your time is too valuable. That's just a distraction. It's not even worth putting your energy toward. When you're meek, you don't try to prove to people who you are. If somebody insults you, makes those cunning, demeaning remarks, you realize that's their problem, not yours. Read between the lines. They must be pretty impressed with you, or they wouldn't be trying to pull you down. Keep your strength under control. It's not how loud we get, or how many people we straighten out, or let me show you what I'm made of. No, if you get in there and argue with somebody and try to prove your point, all you're doing is sinking down to their level. Don't fall into that trap. You are an eagle, and an eagle doesn't waste his time fighting with crows. He just rises to an altitude where the crows cannot fly. And in life, we're all going to have some crows and some chickens and probably a few turkeys. That's okay. They can't go where you're going. You may have the power to straighten them out. You may feel like giving them a piece of your mind. Your emotions will tell you, get in there, pay them back, get even. Listen to what Paul told Timothy. Stay calm, cool, and collected. He was saying, don't give away your power. Keep your strength under control. It's like this guy I heard about. He was in a little country diner eating a burger by himself. This motorcycle gang came in. These guys were big and tough and mean, and one biker, just to show who was in charge, he went over to his table and knocked his hamburger on the floor, picked up his water and poured it on top of his head, said very sarcastically, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was an accident," just trying to pick a fight. The guy sitting there calmly got his napkin, wiped off the water, got up out of his chair and just walked out of the restaurant. The biker shook his head and said to the waiter, "Not much of a man, is he?" The waiter said, "No, and not much of a driver either. He just ran over 12 choppers driving out of here." That's strength under control. One time when I was dating Victoria, I was in my early 20s, and I was driving home from her house alone about midnight. I had a real nice sports car. I kept it spotless, didn't have one scratch on it. And as I was driving, I came to a light at an intersection. And there was a car already stopped in the left-hand lane going the same direction, and I was still coming up. And the light changed before I got there, so I never had to stop. But the man in this lane, he decided to turn right from the left lane. And I came up, I had nowhere to go, and so he hit the back of my car and spun me around. In a few moments when it calmed down, I got out of my car knowing that it wasn't my fault. And I'm naturally easygoing. There's not much that upsets me. I looked at the back of my car and it was just totally destroyed. About that time, the man got out of his car. It was very dark, but I could see he was probably in his 50s. He started ranting and raving, cursing, saying, "Kids, you need to learn how to drive. I am so mad at you." I thought to myself, I'm the one that should be upset. He just turned from the wrong lane. He was about 30 yards away. He got himself so worked up and so angry, he started running toward me like he wanted to fight. And my first thought was, "Do you want some of this?" Y'all know that's not true. My second thought, the real thought, was, how big is he? He got about 15 yards away, and I saw he was about twice my size. Right then and there, I had a revelation. This was a battle not worth fighting. I went around on the other side of my car. You said, "Joel, you mean you were a chicken?" No, I mean I wanted to live. You got to accept the fact some people are never going to be at peace with you. They are never going to see your point of view. You might as well let it go and move on. And even if you can win, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? What is this going to accomplish? I mean, what if I would have stood up to him, show him what I'm made of? Big deal. I don't even know the man. Hadn't seen him 10 minutes my whole life. It's not worth it. I made a decision. I'm not going to give him my power, my joy, my peace. There are enough battles in life that are worth fighting without getting involved in the ones that don't really matter. Some of you today, you get upset too easily. You allow too many things to steal your joy. The traffic, the weather, a grumpy salesman, an inconsiderate receptionist. Don't go year after year that way. Draw the line in the sand and say, you know what, that's it. I'm not giving away my power anymore. I'm going to stay calm, cool, and collected. Heard this man tell how he was in a taxi cab driving to a meeting. They were on the feeder road, and this car pulled out of a side street, and the cab had to slam on his brakes, swerve into the other lane, and miss the car by inches. The driver of that car that pulled out, he rolled down his window, started honking, screaming, shaking his fist. He was so upset, so angry. The cab driver just smiled real big, waved at him, and kept on moving. The man in the back seat, the customer there in that cab, he was so impressed. He said to the driver, "That man almost totaled your car, almost sent us to the hospital. I can't believe you didn't yell back at him. How were you able to keep your cool?" The taxi cab driver said, "I've learned something called the law of garbage trucks." He went on to explain how many people are like these big garbage trucks. They go around all day full of frustration, full of disappointment, full of anger. And as their garbage piles up, they need somewhere to dump it, and sometimes they'll dump it on you. Don't take it personally. It doesn't have anything to do with you. Just smile, wave at them, and wish them well. Successful people don't allow garbage trucks to overtake their day. If somebody dumps a load on you, don't get upset, don't get angry, don't get offended. If you make that mistake, you'll end up carrying their load around, and eventually you'll dump it on somebody else. Keep your lid on. Sometimes these days we need to have a steel lid. People are dumping out so much poison and criticism, bad news, anger. Keep that lid tight. We can't stop people from dumping their garbage, but if we'll keep our lid on, we can stop it from affecting us. Right after 9/11, I was invited to come to a local television station and be a part of a news program. I had to be there early Monday morning, around 6:30, and I was already kind of tired after Sunday, and it was cold and raining, still dark. Didn't really feel like going, but I'd made the commitment. I was on my way. They told me to park right up front in this special reserved lot for the people that were on the program. And so I pulled in there, but when I got out of my car, this lady came running over. She was a security guard. She came like I just committed a major crime. She was not friendly at all. In fact, she was downright rude. She said, "Sir, what do you think you're doing? You cannot park here. This is reserved for our special guest." I wanted to say, "Lady, you can't get any more special than me." I had to bite my tongue. I said, "Well, ma'am, I'm on the program today and they told me I could park here." She said, "Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. I'll run this lot. You're going to have to go outside the gate." I got back in my car. I couldn't find anywhere to park. I had to go in a little neighborhood way away, and it was still raining. I didn't have an umbrella. And as I ran to the station with every step, I thought, this is not right. I'm going to get in there and tell somebody on that lady. I'm going to get her straightened out. I was about to give away my power. I got in there and forgot all about it. A couple hours later, I came out after it was over. Now it was light and it was cleared up. I was wearing my suit. As I walked out, the same lady, the same security guard, she was like a different person. She said, "Oh, Pastor Osteen, if I'd have known that was you, I would have let you park there." I was so glad I bit my tongue. She went on to say, "Do you think you'd have time to pray for me?" I wanted to say I would if I didn't have to walk so far. We have to make up our mind. We are not going to take other people's garbage. They may dump it, but we don't have to receive it. Keep your lid on. I heard somebody say, a small pot boils the quickest. You can tell a lot about how big a person is by what it takes to get them upset. Your emotions will either be controlled by your circumstances or by your character. Somebody's rude to you, your emotions will tell you, pay them back, get even. That doesn't take any discipline. Just like a wild horse, you let them have it. But when you've got your strength under control, when you've developed your character, you realize, I'm bigger than this. I'm not going to let them pull me down. I've got places to go, goals to accomplish, dreams to realize. You don't give away your time and energy on things that don't really matter. And character is only developed during the difficult times. It's developed when we do the right thing when the wrong thing's happening. And this is why some people don't have strong character, because the easy thing is to just do what you feel. When somebody's rude to us, it's easy to get offended. It's easy to pay them back. That hardly takes any effort. But it takes a mature person to overlook an offense and not let it ruin their day. It takes discipline to bite our tongue when we feel like telling somebody off. It takes depth of character to say, you know what? They're trying to make me look bad. That's not right, but that's all right. I'm going to stay on the high road knowing that God's fighting my battles for me. And in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy my life. I've discovered there will always be someone to steal our joy if we allow it. If it's not the family member aggravating you, it'll be a neighbor. If it's not a neighbor, it'll be a coworker. If it's not a coworker, it'll be a grumpy salesman, or a slow driver on the freeway, or a child crying at the movie, or a telemarketer calling you during dinner time. People are everywhere. You can't get away from them. And the next time you have an opportunity to be offended, see that as an opportunity to develop your character. Just say, no thanks. I'm going to stay calm, cool, and collected. When you do that, you're passing the test. And as you grow in character, God will release more of His blessings. That's what it says in 3 John verse 2. God wishes above all things that we prosper and be in health. Here's the key, even as our soul prospers. Our soul is our mind, our will, and our emotions. This is saying, as we learn to control our emotions and be disciplined in our thoughts and our actions, as we develop our character, God will release more of His favor. On the flip side, if we don't develop our character, it will limit how high we can go. Promotion comes from God, and God is not going to promote someone and give them recognition if He knows they're not going to be a good example. They're going to lose their cool every other day, treat people wrong. It will limit what God can do. But if we will focus on developing our character and learn to do the right thing in the tough times and overlook these offenses, not let daily frustrations get us down, if we will rise above that, there's no limit to where God's going to take us. Now, I'm asking us today to not go the next 20 years allowing the same people and the same circumstances to steal your joy. Don't give away your power. Keep your lid on. When somebody tries to dump their garbage on you, just smile, wave at them, and move on. Don't let that poison rub off on you. Be an eagle and rise above it. And I want us to go into this new year more determined than ever that we're going to live life to the full. We are not supposed to drag through the day frustrated, upset, offended. We're supposed to be full of joy, full of peace, full of victory. If you'll learn this principle, to not give away your power and focus on developing your character, you're not only going to enjoy your life more, but God is going to pour out His blessings and favor. You're going to rise higher and higher, and you'll live that life of victory He has in store. Amen. Do you receive that today? When we've dealt with something for a long time and not seen any kind of change, it's easy to think this is never going to get better. I've struggled in my marriage for years. This is as good as it gets. I've had this addiction since I was a teenager. Or I've tried and tried to qualify for that new home. It's never going to happen. Too often we get discouraged and just accept it as the way it's always going to be. I have people tell me, Joel, I've always been negative. That's just who I am. I've always had this sickness. I'm just learning to live with it. They've convinced themselves that it's never going to change. In their mind, they've allowed a stronghold to form. Now, really, it's their own thinking that's holding them back. Because the problem is, if we don't believe it's going to get any better, and we start accepting sickness as the norm, and we accept not having enough as the norm, we accept a lousy marriage as the norm, that's our faith at work, and it allows it to become the norm. If you believe it's permanent, then it's going to become permanent. If you believe it will never get better, then it won't. If you believe you've reached your limits, then you have. The problem is our own thinking. The moment we accept it and allow the stronghold to take root, we've lost the battle. But here's the key. You have to view everything negative in your life, every obstacle, every limitation, every sickness, every problem, view it as only temporary. It is not going to last forever. That sickness is just a season. It is not going to keep you from your destiny. You may have had it for 20 years. The doctor's telling you just learn to live with it. But in your mind, you cannot allow it to become permanent. Every day you need to say, Father, thank you that this too shall pass. Sickness cannot live in my body. It's on foreign territory. It is only temporary. You have to stand against the lie of permanency. Maybe in your career, you feel like you're stuck. You haven't had a promotion in a long time. Business is kind of low. That thought will come to your mind, I've done pretty well. I've done good enough. This is okay. No, you have to have the attitude, I am not settling here. I know I have more in me. I'm going to accomplish every dream. I'm going to reach every goal. I know it's just a matter of time before those new doors begin to open up. If you have to stand in faith your whole lifetime, you should never accept mediocrity in your marriage, in your career, in your finances, in your health, in your family. Don't allow those strongholds to take root. It is only temporary. And it'll help you to stay in faith if you'll recognize God is working in your life right now. You may not see anything happening, but that doesn't mean God is not working. It says in Philippians 2:13, God is constantly at work in those who believe. That means because you're a believer right now, God is working. Not next week, not next month. Right now, God is arranging things in your favor. Right now, God is lining up the right people. Right now, health and healing is flowing through your body. Right now, God's protecting your children. Right now, God's fighting your battles for you. As long as you're believing, God is working. That's why it's so important to live in an attitude of faith and expectancy. It allows God to continue to work. But all through the day, these thoughts will bombard our mind saying, it's not going to change. Nothing is happening. Your health is not improving. Your child is not doing better. You're never going to get married. You might as well accept it. That is the forces of darkness trying to keep you right where you are. You may not see anything happening. In the natural, it may look the same week after week, month after month, even year after year. But you got to have the attitude, I am not moved by what I see. I'm moved by what I know. And I know because I'm a believer, right now, God is working in my finances. Right now, God's working in my children. Right now, God's working in my health. When you believe, you activate God's power. But if we don't guard our minds and constantly cast down these wrong thoughts, then over time we'll get worn down and eventually we'll give in. Well, Joel, I'd love to believe what you're saying, but you don't know my situation. I don't see how it could ever change. It's been this way so long. No, when you dwell on thoughts like that, you are tying the hands of Almighty God. If you could see behind the scenes right now, you would see God arranging things in your favor, lining up your vindication, planning your breakthrough. But all of a sudden, God says to the angels, hold on everybody, we've got to take a break. We've got to put this project on hold. One of the angels says, why, God? Why can't we finish? Why can't we give them the victory? Why can't we turn it around? God says we have to stop because they quit believing. They're not releasing their faith anymore. If they're not activating my power, I can't continue to work. I don't know about you, but I need all the help I can get. I need God to fight my battles for me. I need His favor, His wisdom, His strength. Let's make up our minds. We're going to be believers and not doubters. And it may be taking a long time, but remember this promise. God will finish what He started. That tells me we don't have to live life upset, stressed, wondering if it's ever going to change. Is it ever going to get any better? No, we can stay at peace, knowing at the exact right time, in due season, it is going to come to pass. And I know some of you have had these same challenges for a long, long time. And in the natural, it doesn't seem like it's ever going to get better. But God is saying it is not permanent. It is not going to last forever. Your day of victory is on its way. Because you're a believer, things are changing in your favor. God is working behind the scenes, and it's just a matter of time before you see new doors begin to open. Divine connections are coming your way. Restoration, vindication, promotion, health, and healing. Now is not the time to give up. Now's not the time to get discouraged. Think, oh man, it's not going to happen for me. No, now more than ever is the time to dig your heels in, stay in faith, knowing that your time is coming. I think about the Israelites. They had been in slavery year after year. They were very mistreated, taken advantage of. It was unfair. But one day God supernaturally brought them out. And after much traveling, they finally made it to the promised land. They were camped right next door. God promised them the victory. All they had to do was fight for the land. They were so close, they could taste it. Their dream was about to come to pass. Moses sent some men in to spy out the land. And they came back and said, Moses, we'll never defeat these people. They're so much stronger, so much more powerful than us. We don't have a chance. That negative report spread like wildfire throughout the rest of the camp. The people got discouraged. They started complaining, saying, Moses, why did you bring us out here in the desert to die? Why can't we just go back to being slaves? Do you know those people, even though they were camped next door, they never made it into the promised land. They wandered around in the wilderness for over 40 years. What's my point? It became permanent because of their own wrong thinking. It was never God's intention for them to stay in mediocrity. God never planned for them to wander around defeated, constantly struggling, constantly in lack. They had seen God do great things. But when we get discouraged and we slip over into that negative mentality and we start thinking, my obstacles are too big, I don't see how it could ever change, it's always going to be like this, then our own wrong thinking is what allows it to become permanent. And some of you today, just like them, you are camped right next door to your promised land. You are so close to a major victory. You are so close to seeing that promotion you've been praying for, close to a new day in your health, close to seeing that child turn around. Let me encourage you, don't do like they did and say, oh, Joel, I've had this sickness for years. My obstacles are too big. I never get any good breaks. No, shake that off and let this seed of faith take root. You got to have the attitude, it's my time. This may look permanent, but I know better. God says it's temporary. I'm not going to live my life defeated, depressed, negative. I'm a believer and not a doubter. I'm going to step into my promised land. It is only permanent if we allow it to become permanent in our own minds. The book of Genesis, Isaac was talking to his son Esau, and he said something so interesting. He said, Esau, your brother has tricked me, and he has carried away your blessing. This is saying someone or something can carry away our blessing. I'm sure sometimes we've let disappointments carry away our blessing. Sometimes we let discouragement carry away a blessing. No doubt at times we've all let other people steal our blessings. I don't know about you, but this does something to me on the inside. It makes me more determined than ever that I am going to stand in faith and not allow anyone or anything to carry away my blessings. And some of you today, you need to go back and get your blessings. And that's a great thing about God. It's never too late. You can reclaim lost blessings. Maybe you didn't go into the promised land the first time you were camped next door. Your attitude needs to be, I'm going to go in the next time. No person is going to talk me out of my victory. No obstacle is going to defeat me. No sickness is going to hold me back. No disappointment is going to discourage me. What I lost in the past, I know God can make up in the future, so I'm going into that reclaiming mode. You need to reclaim every lost opportunity. Reclaim every blessing you let pass by. Reclaim every promotion that should have been yours. Reclaim the victory that people tried to talk you out of. If you'll rise up in faith, it is never too late. Somebody may have carried away a blessing, but this is a new day, and God is saying you can still live a life of victory. You can still accomplish every dream. You can still overcome that addiction. You can still be happy in your marriage. You can still live a blessed, prosperous life. It is never too late to become all that God's created you to be. I think about how when Jesus prayed for people, often He would ask how long they had been that way. He said to the man at the pool of Bethesda, how long have you been laying here? The man answered, 38 years. He asked a woman that was all bent over, how long you been this way? She said, 18 years. These parents brought their grown son to Jesus. He was blind. Jesus said, how long has he not been able to see? They said, since he was born. Why was Jesus so interested in the length of time? Why didn't He just heal him and go on to the next one? It's because He wanted to show us how nothing is permanent. He wanted it to be forever recorded so we would always know it is never too late. It's interesting, at that pool, Jesus healed the man that had been there the longest. He didn't just randomly pick him out. No doubt there were hundreds of other sick people. Why did Jesus choose him? To make sure we understood that even if it's been 38 years, even if it looks like it's set in stone, it looks like it's never going to change, it's just impossible, God says, if you believe, all things are possible. And some of you today have faced things that have been there year after year, and you're just about to give up. You're just about to write it off. But God is saying, it's time to believe again. I can still bring that dream to pass. I can still restore your marriage. I can still heal your body. I can still bring the right person into your life. Don't stop believing. It's not over until God says it's over. You may have been praying about a situation for a year or 5 years, I don't know, 10 years. But as long as you're praying, God is working. As long as you're believing, God is working. I met a 90-year-old man in the lobbies a couple of weeks ago after the service. He had never been to church a day in his life. 90 years old, never set foot in a church. That morning, he had stood up and made a decision for Christ. His family was so excited. His wife was there, his children, his grandchildren. They told how they had been praying for their father for over 60 years. This wife had gone to church without him year after year, taking the children, being her best. She said, every time I pulled out of the driveway, headed to church, I said, Father, thank you that one day my husband will be coming with me. One day he'll be serving you. Don't you know, she could have given up after a year, after 5 years, after 10 years, but she was bold enough to keep believing. She knew as long as she was believing, God was working. She knew this promise that God would finish what He started. She had big tears coming down her cheeks. She said, Joel, today is the fulfillment of a dream coming to pass. Friends, it's not over until God says it's over. You may have been praying for a loved one for many years, but keep on praying. Your day of victory is on its way. You may have struggled with that addiction for a long, long time, but you keep resisting it. You keep being your best because your day of freedom is on its way. Or maybe you've had a dream in your heart. It's been so long and you've tried here and there, nothing's worked out. But if you will stay in faith and keep believing, keep praying, keep hoping, keep being your best, God still has a way to bring it to pass. And the scripture says here in 2 Corinthians 4:18, the things that are seen are temporary, but the things that are unseen are eternal. One version says, the things that are seen are subject to change. You may have situations that look permanent, looks like it's set in stone, but you have to remind yourself, everything you're facing is subject to change. Your child may not be doing right, but he's subject to change. Your health may be going downhill. The good news is it's subject to change. Your finances may be kind of low, but they are subject to change. And sometimes you need to get that checkbook out and just announce to it, you are subject to change. Or maybe your boss hasn't been treating you right. Maybe it's been that way a long time. Next time you see him, just smile real big and say, sir, do you realize you are subject to change? You better do that one under your breath. But if we make the mistake of accepting it, and we let it get on the inside and damper our vision, steal our enthusiasm, we've already lost the battle. And it may have been going on for years, but it is not permanent. Here's how Paul put it. These light afflictions are for a moment. Notice he was saying, don't take ownership of those problems. They are temporary. It's amazing what he called light afflictions. Paul had been shipwrecked and spent nights on the open sea. He had been bitten by poisonous snakes, beaten with rods, thrown into prison, gone without food and shelter. His attitude was, it's no big deal. It's not going to keep me from my destiny. It's just a small detour, just a temporary delay. If you've been struggling with something a long time and you're tempted to get discouraged, you need to remind yourself you're not going to be staying there long. That is not your permanent address. You're just passing through. It's a light affliction. It is only for a moment. The problem is, many times we put our stakes down, so to speak. We get our tent out, move our furniture in, set up camp there. We don't see any way out. We're making plans to be there forever. But I'm asking you today, pull your stakes up, pack up your belongings, have the attitude, I am not a citizen of Mediocreville. I do not reside permanently in poverty estates. I may be here temporarily, but this is not my final destination. I do not belong here. I am a foreigner. That's what Moses did. He had been in slavery all those years, but he never let slavery get on the inside. And back in those days, names had much more significance than our names today. Moses named one of his sons Gershom, which means I was an alien in a strange land. He was saying we were in slavery, but slavery was not the norm. That was not our permanent address. We were foreigners. Every time he saw his son said, hey, Gershom, he was reminding himself, we don't belong here. This slavery, this poverty, this defeat, this lack, this is not our normal state. I am an alien in a strange land. That's the attitude we have to have. When times get difficult, don't embrace it and allow it to become the norm. I hear people say things like, my arthritis is really acting up today. My depression is really bad. My anxiety attacks, my financial difficulties. No, don't take ownership of those problems. You may be there temporarily, but that is not your permanent home. You might say it like this. You are not a citizen of that difficulty. You don't fit in that environment. You are a foreigner in a strange land. When times get tough, it's good to announce to yourself, I won't be staying here long. I don't have citizenship here. I am not a citizen of fear. I'm not a citizen of poverty. I'm not a citizen of depression. I'm not a citizen of anxiety. I'm not a citizen of cancer. This disease is alien to me. It is not my normal state. This may be where I am, but it is certainly not who I am. I am blessed. I am prosperous. I am healthy. I am strong. Anything to the contrary, you need to view as foreign. It's only temporary. It is not your permanent address. This is what my father did. He was raised in extreme poverty. Looked like he would never make much out of his life. But my father was bold enough to believe that he was a foreigner in that land. His attitude was, I may be in poverty, but poverty is not in me. I am an alien to poverty. I am an alien to defeat. I don't have citizenship here. In other words, he didn't take ownership. He didn't see it as his normal state. And Daddy rose up out of that defeat and went on to do something great with his life. When my mother faced terminal cancer in 1981, this is what she did. She didn't sit back and accept it. Her attitude was, I may have cancer, but this is not my normal state. I don't belong here. I am a foreigner to cancer. It was never my cancer. She didn't take ownership of it. She didn't see it as permanent. She saw it as temporary. When times get difficult, you cannot take ownership of that problem. Don't embrace the trouble and let it get on the inside. If you do, it'll become a part of you. And that's what stops us from God's very best. And too many people today are living below their potential. And one reason is they've got all these limitations programmed into their mind. Things like, you're depressed because your mother was depressed. You'll never break that addiction. Your father has the same problem. You'll always be poor and defeated. Everybody in your family has been that way. But just because it's been that way a long time, just because that's all you saw modeled growing up, doesn't mean it's the way it's supposed to be. Could it be even right now you've accepted something, a limitation, an addiction, a sickness, a wrong mindset, when in fact, just like my father, you're a foreigner in that land. You may have settled there, but something on the inside is saying, I don't belong here. I don't fit in. I was made to rise higher. I was made to be free. I was made to live healthy. I was made to have good relationships. I was made to do something great with my life. You need to rise up and say, I am not settling here. I've been here long enough, but I don't fit in mediocrity. I don't fit in defeat. I don't fit in poverty. I don't fit in poor health. That's not who I really am. I am a foreigner to those things. That may be the way it's been in the past, but that's not the way it's going to be in the future. I'm packing up my goods and moving where I belong, to the land of victory, the land of more than enough, the land of health and wholeness, the land of blessing and favor. Well, you say, Joel, I don't see how that can happen. My obstacles are so big and I have so much coming against me. No, recognize in difficult times, human nature tends to exaggerate the negative. We get so focused on our problems, we make them bigger than they really are. And that's what happened to the Israelites heading toward the promised land. They said, Moses, we're never going to survive out here. We don't have anything to eat, nothing to drink. What are we going to do? Really, that was not true. God had provided them manna every day. He had given them water out of a rock. The fact is, they had not missed a single meal, but in their mind, it was so hard and they were so worried, they exaggerated their problems. When times get tough, you need to step back and get the proper view. You'll hear those thoughts saying, it's never going to change. But the fact is, it is going to change. Well, it's never going to get any better. No, can I give you some good news? It is going to get better. Well, it's been like this forever, Joel. No, most likely, it's just been like that for a season. Get a new perspective. Don't believe the never lies. They are exaggerations. I'll never get well. I'll never get out of debt. I'll never overcome this obstacle. No, those are exaggerated points of view. You got to reprogram your thinking. I'm trying to put some new software in your computer today. This is the latest, greatest version available. It says every problem is temporary, that sickness is not permanent, that financial difficulty is not going to last forever. This too shall pass. God is supplying all of your needs. He's going to prosper you even in the desert. What was meant for your harm, God's going to use to your advantage. It may be taking a long time, but you don't know. You may be camped right next door to your promised land. The good news is God will finish what He started. If you're going to exaggerate anything, exaggerate the goodness of God in your life. Magnify His promises. Recognize every adversity is only temporary. It may have been there for years, but it is not permanent. Let me tell you what is permanent. Psalm 30 verse 5, God's favor will last for a lifetime. Friends, challenges are temporary, favor is permanent. David said, goodness and mercy will follow me, not a little while, not 6 days a week, all the days of my life. I want you to have a new attitude. Those problems didn't come to stay, favor came to stay. That sickness is not going to last forever, favor is going to last forever. That financial difficulty is not permanent, favor is what's permanent. And because you honor God, He has promised His blessings are going to chase you down and overtake you. That means trouble's not going to overtake you, blessings are going to overtake you. When you look back, don't look for heartache, disappointments, failure. Look for promotion, increase, blessings, favor. Remember, everything you're facing is subject to change. Right now, the Creator of the universe is at work in your life. Those light afflictions are for a moment, but favor is permanent. If you'll have this perspective and view everything negative as temporary, here's what's going to happen. You're going to step into a new freedom. You're going to enjoy each day more. You're going to overcome every obstacle, defeat every enemy, and you're going to live that life of victory God has in store. Amen. Do you receive it today?